Well, everyone, today it's quite the story. RuneScape players have actually just fought off a potential monetization nightmare before it even happened. But of course, the story is a little bit deeper, a little more interesting. Now, this drama kicked off whenever leaked surveys included really fun things like more features being paywalled, a $350 a year, Canadian dollars that is, but still a lot of dollars, subscription for old school RuneScape, and all of that happened not long after Jagex increased the prices for the game. But even worse, oh boy, even worse, ad-supported subscriptions were there. And as we're going to soon find out, the idea of ad-supported stuff within this game is still being floated for the future. And let's be real, whether it's this, whether it's a streaming service, we're seeing that happen more and more, so I wouldn't be surprised if it begins to move into other games. Of course, though, the RuneScape community were swift, they were organized, they resisted, and within days, Jagex apologized. The players won. The immediate worst-case fears won't come to pass, but this story is not that simple. Like our sponsor. It's really simple and it's going to save you money. So, Rocket Money tackles your subscriptions head on, and look, if mine are anything to go by, man, those can really pile up at a shocking rate. Rocket Money is a personal finance tool that helps you lower your bills, stay on top of your subscriptions, and manage your money. And you can get started with them today for free at rocketmoney.com/BellularNews. Now, on the topic of subscriptions, here's how it's so nice. Rocket Money will securely and safely identify recurring charges for you. So it'll present all of them to you at once. You can then cancel them in just a few taps. They've basically put the work in to make that a real smooth, quick experience. Rocket Money does much more though, and one thing they do is help you with bill negotiation. You simply upload your bill and they will be able to help you. And you can do damn well renegotiating your bills. As an example, my internet went to its off-contract price a while back. I negotiated a move to get double the speed, and it literally cost me half the money a month. It was wild. And just on the subscription front, they've cancelled over $500 million of subscriptions, and overall, they've helped save their customers up to $740 a year when using all the app's premium features. Rocket Money is packed with other great tools to help you budget, so if you want to spend less and save more, you can join the over 5 million Rocket Money members today using rocketmoney.com/BellularNews. Or just clicking the link down below. You can start for free, and you can unlock more features with premium, and that's at rocketmoney.com/BellularNews. Imagine you're scrolling your favorite MMO subreddit, and then you just find this. It's a wall of videos from senior strategy manager Nav, and well, it's a full business model survey. Fun stuff. Now, the survey started off innocently enough, right? Jagex wanted player input on new subscription options. Some of them are actually cheaper, some of them are more expensive. Some of the proposed features that are there make sense, at least they seem kind of typical. Stuff like character name protection, membership pausing, and better security options. But there's other things that did raise eyebrows. As an example, API access paywalls, so that's fun. Special worlds for high-paying members, so you can only associate with your fellow high rollers, and of course, most controversially, an ad-supported budget tier that would have reduced features, because of course we all love that on our streaming services today. But here's where things got real spicy for people. The survey presented subscription bundles that ranged from under $100 to a rather whopping 350 Canadian dollars annually. Now, as someone who watches the Odd Linus Tech Tips video, I know that people also call those Canadian rupees, but still, that's actually quite a lot. A year of World of Warcraft in Canada costs $232. $350 is obviously a hell of a lot more. Now, Nav did stress that they want to assure the best value and maintain current membership as a baseline, but given the history of price hikes for this game, people obviously assumed the worst here. But of course, it was not just pricing, there was more. It asked people to choose between various different tiers, or, well, if they would just cancel their subscription entirely, say in light of a price hike. Now, if you picked cancel too often, then you'd get an additional form to get more info out of you. And of course, on one hand, this is just the company wanting more info, but on the other hand, it is a bad look. And it's even a bad look in the best of times. The thing, though, is RuneScape players have got a memory, and they also read the news headlines, and that is enough to make this feel like a credible threat. Here's the big picture reason why players were primed to expect the worst with this story. So, Jagex is a company that has passed between different venture capital firms since 2012, and basically each time it's played out the same way, right? So a firm picks them up, holds them for 4 years, pumps up the value, and then sells them. Now, the last owner snapped up Jagex for $530 million, and they sold them for $1.1 billion, which is, yeah, pretty tasty doubling of their money in 4 years. And funnily enough, their new owner has also just made the headlines, even in this very YouTube channel. They're called Havali, and if you watch all of our videos, you'll know that they are the new owners of Kerbal Space Program, and a whole load of assets from Private Division, which was a publishing label owned by Take-Two that they basically shut down and sold off the assets of. And they've just hired the former staff of Annapurna Interactive, who are also a news story last year, to set up a new publisher to manage all of those assets. So basically, Havali are fairly in games, and now they own this company. And of course, even just looking at Jagex, we know the game that is being played here, right? It is the standard venture capital thing. So whenever this sale was celebrated by Jagex's chief executive, saying that they can, quote, continue to enhance their platform for the good of both existing valued gamers and potential new gamers, obviously, that felt like a little bit of a threat, and it especially felt like a threat because of 2023. 2023 saw RuneScape celebrate a real fun disaster with the pay-to-win Hero Pass, and it really was quite something. The community launched a full-scale revolt. It was honestly amazing to see. It was complete with Steam review bombs, mass subscription cancellations. It was obvious that it was not going to work, so Jagex apologized, they reversed course, and they promised more transparency. But then the new owners arrived, and they tried to damage control, and when they did, they said this: "We will not compromise the integrity of our games, and there are no intentions of changing our game's business model." And this is where definitions are kind of important. Is a price increase to the existing business model a change in the business model, or is it just a price increase? So to some people, what would then happen is not a breach of that promise, but to others it will be. So late 2024, old school RuneScape players got hit with a fun little price hike. Monthly costs went up from $12.49 to $13.99. That's up $1.50. But I think even more so than that, this represents the fastest rate of increase ever for the game. That's because the change from $10.99 to $12.49 was only 2 years previous. Now, if you buy in bulk, you still do save plenty of money, like it's $100 annually or $144 for 6 months. So they very much are aggressively wanting you to buy the whole year up front. But they did at least try to soften the blow of the price increase by grandfathering in current subscribers, which was absolutely a good move, but obviously that means the second you lapse, well, congratulations, you're going to be paying that higher rate for all of time, which does mean that even if you don't plan on playing the game for a few months, you're going to keep up that subscription because you don't want to be stuck with a price increase. But of course, there's something far larger going on here. Old school RuneScape looks like old school RuneScape. It plays like old school RuneScape. And I don't mean that as a bad thing. That is actually what makes it special. But I think people expect it to be priced accordingly, not, say, just about the same price as World of Warcraft or, Guild Wars or any other big MMO. So given all of this, given the price increases had just happened, it is no surprise that people saw a 350 Canadian dollar a year price in a survey and assumed the worst. Now that converts to $243 US a year, which is over double what OSRS costs right now, which would be pretty well timed for the new owner who just purchased Jagex for a cool $1.1 billion. So for Jagex, this was a PR nightmare, a disaster, which meant they had to act. So here's what they did. Facing all the usual fun things like player protests in Faldor, which are awesome to see, plummeting Steam reviews and all of that, the CEO, Pips, responded with an apology, and here's the key quote from that. "It was a major misjudgment to include features that suggested we would consider degrading the game experience." And basically, they specifically promise, right? No in-game advertisements or AFK timer changes for paid members, but an ad-supported free-to-play option is still being considered. Most importantly, though, they committed to never degrade or fundamentally change the gameplay experience between subscribers, which is a strong promise. Also, that means it's just the sort of promise that could bite them later, if, they need the line to go up. And ideally, that's why they made that promise, because they know it's the sort of thing that, if they go back on it, they're really going to be in deep shit. It's planting a flag in the ground. All because no plan survives contact with the enemy, and this whole plan was based on some old school assumptions about how you manage your business. Alright, first, this is a little weird, I literally cannot say more, but I have a strong direct primary source on Jagex having fairly world-class data science and competitor analysis going on. Apparently, they are just amazing at that, and this is stuff that I know via IRL talking to people, so I'm gonna leave it at that. But point is, they really do like to crunch numbers and do all their data stuff, which makes the likes of this survey actually make sense. This type of survey is en masse, it's randomized, and it's designed for the practice of data science. So, as an example, do answers correlate with each other? Does a player who actually does accept the 350 Canadian dollar yearly price also say, somewhere else in the survey, that there's a certain type of microtransaction or account service that they would like? Because it absolutely could be, maybe even likely is the case, that they would never plan that $350 price tag, but what they want to do is in their data find their most price insensitive players and then see what sorts of other things those players would actually be interested in so that they can, go and sell those things to those players. This kind of thing goes on all the time with surveys, with data science. A great example is actually Diablo 4. It's really perfect because players were sent a Vessel of Hatred survey. These were floating everywhere, and they had ideas like premium weapon access, which is pretty shit, paid stash space, which obviously is fine in Path of Exile, but less fine in Diablo, and it actually had prices ranging from $50 to $100. Yet if you actually look at the game, what do you see? Well, $40 base price, $60 deluxe, $80 ultimate, and with none of the controversial features. So the question here then is, did survey responses inform that? Did people actually not like the things in the survey? Did reactions to the survey questions in social media inform that pricing? That's likely a bit of both. But for Jagex, this is a really, really fun position. I don't mean fun in the good way. It's a true catch-22. Because they know that these surveys can cause drama for fairly obvious reasons. But that type of market research, and probably even the data science prowess of Jagex, are the sorts of things that private equity will demand. They will want to know the market research, want to know how they can grow the value of their asset. Now, it's actually clear that Jagex kind of knew this and tried to dodge the drama, because if you look at the actual survey, it straight up tells people, do not take the contents of this as future plans. That's a disclaimer that is designed to set players at ease. But what it did, likely, is let Jagex think, okay, we've done our disclaimer, now we will put everything we want in the survey, with no real eye to PR and not much of an understanding that, well, what if people see the contents of the survey but have not looked at the disclaimer? Or maybe don't believe the disclaimer. And there's a core lesson here, one for big companies, one for me, and one for you. People never think about you or your business or your company, whatever it is, nearly as much as you do or you think they do. That means that anytime people are thinking about you, you want to make sure that it's on your terms. This is a great example of them in a traditional sense, trying to protect themselves, but completely missing the point of how just chat happens online and how things actually spread. Especially so when the people spreading all of this chat aren't dumb. They saw the hero pass, they've seen the price increase, and they know that a venture capital firm just acquired the company. So today's real lesson is to avoid looking really fucking stupid online, perform a perspective shift and try to pretend you don't know what you know. But even with this being a past thing and with the worst not coming to pass, I would not like to be in Jagex's shoes. I see a real challenge. Here is why, and it's one that will matter to Runescape players. So here's the fun reality that Jagex faces. They've got new owners, and the new owners paid twice what the previous owners paid, which is, the business model. And it's not just a big number, that 1.1 billion. It's also an expectation of future value. And what I don't mean here is that Havali likely wants to get this, nudge up the profit, just for the sake of profit, and have some more, cash in the bank account. No, that is not what firms like that do. What they will want to do is to increase the valuation of their asset. The asset is called Jagex. They want to increase that value and then sell to somebody else. That is a far faster way to generate returns than slowly reaping the long-term profits that asset generates. This time round, though, it's going to be quite a challenge. Let's just say that Havali want to double their money, right? If so, they'd need to sell for $2.2 billion. That's obviously before we're factoring in any leverage, any debt that Havali may be carrying. Now, largely, we are actually in the dark on Jagex's recent financial performance, but what we do have is some public accounts going up to December 2022. they're actually quite positive. You can see why the company sold for loads of money. It's basically 7 years of growth and profit. Now, within a product, right? We've got really two levers of revenue. One of them is get more customers. The other one is increase your revenue per customer. That's what the mission will be. Now, getting the balance between these is a fine dance. But with old school RuneScape's monthly subscription fee rapidly approaching that of World of Warcraft, a game with more content updates, right? More business going on, a far larger development team that does ship more content. Well, that's going to be challenging if OSRS suddenly costs more than games that evidently cost way more to make. People will begin to scratch their heads. So I don't think there's much headroom on their subscription price. So let's have a think about this and trying to analyze things. If you look at their current pricing model, the most obvious change they could make is to cut the annual discount. And that's because if you buy 1 month at a time, a year of OSRS costs $167.88, but the annual option costs $100. Okay, so why don't we decrease the annual savings to maybe a total of $130, right? You'll make $30 more per annual person per year. Amazing. But what if the annual discount is that low, right? That annual makes so much sense because actually their retention is low. So they would rather lock in $100 surefire dollars for a year of subscription than risk a $13.99 a month that could, walk up and leave every single month. Even thinking about World of Warcraft, like it does have an annual option, but annual is no discount over 6 months. Instead, Blizzard incentivizes that via cosmetics. So you can kind of see how these business models are developing. Now, it could be the case here that there really is no real headroom for a price increase on old school RuneScape. And it could also be the case that because it's a game that by this stage is so old, is so entrenched in the market, that it kind of has reached most of the audience it can realistically reach. Well, if that's the case, they've got two choices. Option 1, they could cut their costs and optimize that for maximum profit. Option 2, well, increase our revenue per user. Now, personally, I expect that option 1 has already been the case for years, right? That's the point of having a cash cow product. And with the typical expectations of any venture capital firm, I think option 2 is very obviously what we're going to get. The question obviously then is how? How do they get more money per subscriber? And that's when we take a look at the survey. I mean, most immediately, it does seem that some sort of advertisement-supported free-to-play model and then more premium services will be the future. And that is because there is one overriding truth. And that is, folks, that the line must go up. And here's another story that reinforces how much the line must go up. It's not always for your and I's benefit, but it does make for an entertaining video.